Welcome to the 7 p.m. edition of the newscast on DBS television. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. But before we get into the news in full, let's get to the headlines. Moral decadence and immorality is taking great place in Cameroonian schools and among students in various cities, a situation that needs to be urgently handled before the virus spreads even further in Cameroon. And Honorable Cavalier Gibril maintains his position as Speaker of the Cameroon's National Assembly. This after the other members of Parliament massively voted him back into this position this day in Yaoundé. These are the top stories we have for you in tonight's newscast. Ladies and gentlemen, stay with us and get the details when we return in a few seconds. If you just joined us, then you are on to DBS television, and this is the 7 p.m. edition of the newscast in the English language with me, Cynthia Nguemo. As we told you on our headlines and in one of our top stories for tonight, deviant behavior noted among students in schools in Cameroon is on the rise, as observed recently. Mange Venasius in the following paper highlights that this situation concerns not only schools and educational stakeholders, but society as a whole, if students or pupils have to be brought up in the right manner to be morally upright in Cameroon. Let's get his report.
The question of a fall in morality among young people, especially within academic milieu in our society, is fast becoming an issue for serious reflection. There has been an increase in deviant behavior noted recently in schools, a phenomenon which is gradually cutting across the country. From Yaoundé to Kumba, via Kribi and Douala, students have been caught in acts such as drug consumption and group sex, a situation which is going out of control, especially within the schools. In Yaoundé, for example, 12 students were arrested by the police. In Kumba, over 80 students were rounded up, while Kribi, a number of students were dismissed. All these cases were drug consumption and group sex. These cases were from government schools. But this is not to say that the situation is better in confessional and lay private schools. Nevertheless, control mechanisms are put in place to make sure any student who might have had such idea is not given the chance.
What we see in other schools, we hear about pornographic matters. It's not really possible here because at the gate, students are being controlled, seriously controlled. We see that we also have the problem of fighting. Students who come with sharp objects, as we have some accidents in other schools. At the gate, it's controlled, and if we even see that you are indisciplined, you are sanctioned. You are taken to the disciplinary council, and your parents are even convoked to see, first of all, to first see the measures that can be taken. But if it's not really possible, you are sent away.
This on itself is not enough. For acts which are deplorable do not necessarily call for the use of some object.
We cannot allow students to do whatever they want to do, because that is always what brings maybe devilish ideas. That's why generally during their free periods, we can give them exercises to do. We can take them to the reading room. We can even occupy them maybe to clean their class or to do any other thing. In brief, we don't allow them totally free.
But chances still exist because most of such acts take place in the least expected areas.
There is a discipline master at the door. So, and the toilets are not combined. Girls have their toilet, boys also have their toilet. So, even when a girl is going to the girls' toilet, we verify that another girl is not there, or maybe two girls are not found in the same toilet, or two boys are not found in the same toilet, in order to avoid homosexuality.
These are at the level of the schools. Most of these students have been very tactful that they can dribble both the school authorities and their parents. It will therefore be a joint venture of both parents, schools, and the society at large to control our kids from these wayward practices.
Honorable Cavalier Gibril has been re-elected as Speaker of Cameroon's National Assembly. Out of 162 members of parliament who voted today, 149 cast their vote for Cavalier. This makes the CPDM party bigwig the only member of parliament to be the Speaker of the National Assembly since 1992 in Cameroon. Mange Venasius once again with this report.
For 1 week now, MPs and senators have been at the Congress Hall in Yaoundé for the March session of 2021 legislative year, a session that has been going on under the leaderships of eldest members, that is Honorable Laurentine Kwa Mfege for the National Assembly and Senator Chief Victor Mokete for the Senate, while looking forward for the election of the permanent bureaus this Thursday. A plenary session took place this morning, during which the President of the National Assembly was elected. The lone candidate, CPDM's Honorable Cavalier Gibril, was unanimously selected by MPs of the ruling party, given their numerical strength of 152 out of 180 MPs. It should be indicated that the CPDM party parliamentary group earlier on had a meeting chaired by Party Secretary Jean Kwete, which was obviously to prepare MPs for the exercise. Cavalier Gibril had been in this post for 29 years. Marcel Nyat Njifenji, on his part, President of the Senate, has been in the post since the creation of the Senate in 2013. Although Cameroon's bicameral parliament is made up of a number of opposition parties, CPDM party choices have always had no obstruction, as was the case with these elections.
In the Adamawa region, newly promoted members or officials of the Cameroon Gendarmerie have officially been installed into their functions. This took place in a ceremony presided at by Brigadier General Pierre Lobazal. One of the promoted personnel is 48-year-old Colonel Jean-Pierre Kagombe. He and his collaborators take their functions with the mission to fight crime waves like hostage-taking, theft of cattle and other criminal acts exacerbated by the Adamawa region's proximity to Nigeria and Central African Republic, all hard hit by insecurity from armed groups. Here, Brigadier General Pierre Lubazal talking about the expectations from the newly installed. He is followed by Colonel Jean-Pierre Kagombe, who reiterates his commitment to hard work and exemplary behavior. Let's listen.
Is that I would like first of all to congratulate Colonel Kagombe for the main confidence put to him by the High Command. And I would like to invite him to do efforts so that to maintain peace and security in this important and strategic unit of administration unit. We have a certain number of challenges here. High robber, urban how can I say it? Urban challenges, and he has to make efforts so that population in the whole Adamawa region can peacefully go to their daily occupation.
First of all, I would like to thank the High Command for the trust have been placed on my person, and I am ready to execute all the mission in order to ensure public order and security in the area of the Adamawa region.
Now in culture, tomorrow, which is the 19th of March 2021, will be a very special day for Cameroon's music legend Nkoti Francois. It marks the 50th anniversary of his music career, a period in which the 70-year-old music icon has entertained and thrilled Cameroonians, Makossa and music lovers in the world at large with hundreds of songs and melodies. In prelude to his 50th year of career anniversary, Nkoti Francois and his team are preparing a live music concert tomorrow Friday at Falaise Diamond Hotel in Bonanjo in Douala. That is at 8 p.m. prompt. Due to COVID-19 restrictive measures, only 50 people are allowed into the hall that has the capacity to host over 600 people. While the team is doing finishing touches, they report that all tickets are already sold out. However, the concert will be streamed live on Nkoti Francois' Facebook and YouTube pages for the viewing pleasure of his fans and music lovers, and this for close to 4 hours. This brings us now to news out of the Cameroonian borders and moving into the African continent, beginning with the country Tanzania, whose president John Magufuli passed away yesterday evening from heart complications. This was announced by the vice president of the country. And Kais Saied, who is Tunisia's president, has been the first to pay a visit to Libya to have talks with the new government, which is in place since yesterday in Tripoli. This visit brings the two parties to talk about economic, health, transport and educational status of both nations. Rogeatu Buba gives us an insight of these stories in the following, which is the Africa Roundup page.
61-year-old Tanzanian President John Magufuli has died. In a televised address to the nation late on Wednesday, Vice President Samia Suluhu Hassan announced that Magufuli had died of heart complications. This comes after weeks of speculation on his whereabouts, with the suspicion that he had been hospitalized for COVID-19. The president has not been seen in public for 18 days. On Tuesday, the opposition leader from the Alliance for Change and Transparency issued a statement demanding Magufuli's whereabouts. The president from northwest Tanzania won a second term in October in an election marked by violence and allegations of fraud. Tunisian President Kais Saied has headed to neighboring Libya for talks with newly appointed government officials in Tripoli, becoming the first head of state to visit the country a day after an interim administration took power. He landed on Wednesday at the capital's Mitiga International Airport, where he was received by Mohamed Younes Menfi, who cheered the visit as historic. The pair then held talks in which they discussed on strengthening relations in areas such as the economy, health, transport, and education. A statement issued after the meeting was that the two countries have agreed on reactivating high-level committees, chambers of commerce, and bilateral agreements. Tunisia had been a key economic partner to Libya before uprisings engulfed the two countries 10 years ago.
That's what we gathered for you on tonight's edition of the news in the English language here on DBS television. Thank you for watching, and we invite you to stay with us until we return tomorrow evening, same time, for a fresh edition of the news. For now, good night. See you tomorrow.